The Knicks are preparing to make a major roster move. According to reports, New York could look to add another player to this team before the end of the season. If the Knicks want to do that, they're going to have to waive a player. And Delon Wright is a candidate to be waived by the Knicks. And if you're wondering who New York could add with that roster spot that they're opening up, the Knicks announced yesterday that Chuma Okeke is returning to New York. We're going to break down all of these latest reports today. But before we get started, about 52% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it could really support all the great content that we're creating for you. And now, let's get started. The Knicks are preparing to make a major move. The Knicks are going through it right now. We are dealing with a number of injuries. With limited players available, the Knicks had to look to Delon Wright last night in order for them to get through the game against the Clippers. Even though we lost that game, it was notable because that was the first time that Delon Wright really saw significant minutes when the game was on the line. However, just because Delon Wright saw minutes last night doesn't mean he's part of the Knicks' future plans. According to reports, New York could look to add another player to this team. If they're going to do that, they have to waive a player. And these reports indicate that Delon Wright is a candidate to be waived by New York. Let's break down these latest reports from SNY insider Ian Begley. Shout out to Ian Begley for giving us the following updates about the Knicks' plans for Delon Wright moving forward and if they will buy him out. According to Begley, I don't know if they've considered that or not. What I do know is with the way the contracts are lining up for PJ Tucker and the second apron, which the Knicks cannot exceed this year after the Mikal Bridges trade, there will be enough room under the second apron for the Knicks to waive a player like Wright and then add another free agent late in the regular season. In the last week, maybe on the last day of the regular season, we can see that move happen. Begley continues here by stating, I think that's where you see maybe a potential move with a player like Wright or someone else, where if the Knicks wanted to add another free agent and they saw an opportunity to do so, they would have to open up a roster spot and would have to waive somebody. And Wright would probably be a candidate, I would assume. So they'll have the opportunity to do that right now based on how the contracts are lining up. That's something to keep an eye on here as we get to the end of the regular season. Before last night, Wright was mainly a healthy DNP. He did not play unless situational. If it was a situation that Tom Thibodeau thought he could be useful in, maybe his defense could be added, he would be inserted into the game. But oftentimes, he would just be riding the bench, not doing anything. And he's only playing right now, even behind Kolek, because of the fact that Knicks are missing so many guards. But once New York is fully healthy again, he will go right back to healthy DNPs. And since that's the case, and New York could be looking to add another player to this team, it makes all the sense in the world to me that the Knicks waive Delon Wright and add another player in his place, especially somebody who's going to see the floor more and have more of an impact when they're out there. Now, you might be asking the question, if the Knicks waive Delon Wright, who could they add with that open roster spot? They just announced yesterday that they are bringing back rising star Chuma Okeke. And if you ask me, that is the player New York should add if they waive Delon Wright. Shout out to the Westchester Knicks on the app X for giving us the following information. According to them, the Westchester Knicks have reacquired Chuma Okeke and have placed Miles Burns on waivers. Chuma Okeke is back with the Westchester Knicks. That means Chuma is back in New York. And even though New York can add a lot of players with an open roster spot that they open up, if they waive Delon Wright, in my opinion, Chuma Okeke stands out among all the others. And it's for one main reason. He is a wing. He is athletic. And he can do a little bit of everything if he's given time. At the NBA level, with the Philadelphia 76ers a couple of nights ago, He had a monster double-double. That's exactly what you need from players off the bench. Players that can have an impact. He can defend. He can shoot the three. He can pass. He can play make. He can rebound. He can score. He can legitimately do everything that you want a bench player to do. Tom Thibodeau would love him, and he would definitely utilize him. In my opinion, he would utilize him a lot more than Delon Wright, just because of his sheer athleticism and what he can do out there on the defensive side of the ball. Delon Wright is a vet, so I can understand why some of you might be thinking Tom Thibodeau would hold on to him. But we already have the vet in PJ Tucker on this team. He's that veteran presence we need in the locker room. Do we really need Delon Wright at this point in time? This kid is ready. He's developed this year. He's gotten better this year. And if his defense is already good, who would you want to manage that defense, to cultivate that defense, to help it get better? Wouldn't it be a defensive-minded coach like Tom Thibodeau? Because in my opinion, that's exactly what you do. This is the move the Knicks should make. Because if Delon Wright is not part of the future plans, if New York indeed wants to add another player to this team ahead of the postseason, and that player should do a little bit of everything, how can you argue with them going after Chuma? Maybe the only way you can argue this is if the Knicks want more size, as in a center. And if that's the case, I mean, you could go back to months ago. You know who I'm going to talk about. Before we get back to today's show, I want to give a special thanks to today's sponsor, MyBookie. The madness is here. March Madness has been insane. High stakes matchups, intense confrontations, wild finishes, and each and every game gives you a great betting opportunity. And MyBookie has you covered. It's bringing back a favorite, the MyBookie Bet and Get. Place a bet on March Madness and get a surprise reward. Cash back, free bets, bonus chips. You never know what you're going to get. Sign up with promo code MM50 for a deposit bonus. If you don't want the bonus, no worries. Just let them know Recap sent you. Bet on any game, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. And now, let's get back to the show. Because the players the Knicks want to add, they're all in their Westchester team. Either TJ Warren, Chuma Okeke, or of course, Moses Brown, who, by the way, last night in the final game for Westchester, gave you 20 points and 21 rebounds. He's rolling out of bed, giving you 20-20 games. You can scream G League at me as much as you want to. Name the amount of G League players this year who's putting up those numbers. I'll wait, because there's not many. There are very, very few. And Moses Brown, he tops that list. If the Knicks really want more size at the center position because they're worried about Mitchell Robinson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Preston Achiuwa, and they want to make that move, Moses Brown is right there as well. So you don't have to add Chuma. You can add Moses too. It's all about what New York needs. But right now, in my opinion, they do not need Delon Wright. What they really need is more size. Go after Chuma or go after Moses Brown. Either addition will make me a happy man. Now, you might be looking at the roster and saying, don't we need more guards at this point, given the injuries? Now, you could say that, but for me, it's still size, and here's why. The injuries we're dealing with to our guard depth right now, it is a problem. However, they're not season-ending injuries. Brunson's coming back, Deuce is coming back, and even eventually Campaign will come back. We're going to get our guards back. Once we're fully healthy, we're not going to have a need for guards. But this team fully healthy still needs more size, either at the wing or at the center spot. And if we add Chuma or Moses Brown, we check that box off. And the only way to get them is to waive someone. Waive Delon Wright and add one of these players. Because if you do that, I promise you, good things will happen. You never know when an injury can come up. And if injuries come up and you're not prepared, It can derail everything you work so hard to put together. I do not want to see the Knicks go through that. That's why I want them to make the right roster moves right now, the right changes right now. And I think waiving Delon Wright, maybe not right now, because clearly we need him as we're dealing with injuries. But once we're getting fully healthy, and maybe we're at the final week of the season or the last day of the regular season, you can waive Delon Wright then, and you can make another roster addition at that point. And at that point, you'll know what your main weakness is. Is it the center position or is it the wing position? Depending on that choice, New York will either add Chuma or Moses Brown to this team, because either one of them in place for Delon Wright makes us better, gives us more depth, and gives us another player that allows us to have even more of an impact when they're on the floor. Exactly what New York is looking for right now. But what about you guys? What do you think about the following reports indicating that the Knicks could look to move Delon Wright and waive him to add another player to this team, either by the last week or even the final day of the regular season? Let me know how you feel about that in the comments section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.